Hi guys, Jay Norton here once again, and we're going to talk about visas. Again, we're in another loop because Japan are going to change more visa regulations for a different type of visa. Now, I apologize if I look a little bit sweaty. I've just walked my dogs. And before I walked my dogs, me and my family went out and had churrasco. I think in Japanese it's called churrasco, but it's like the Brazilian meat, like where you can have the thing on the table and then they cut the meat. It was so good. But I've got the meat sweats and the walking sweats and the summer sweats. So it's all sweaty. So I apologize in advance for that. But over the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about how the permanent residency visa is seeing changes to the regulations to make them much more strict, impossible for basically like 90% of people who are going to apply for it, and how I think like it's obviously sad that people cannot apply for it anymore. However, for your future in Japan, I think it's important to have like a set, retirement, and it's good to have a good career. So it's almost helping you in a way, although I'm pretty sure they're not thinking of it that way on both sides. But today, we're actually going to be talking about this skilled foreign professionals visa, and how Japan is now. I'm just looking at the news article while I'm talking to you here. They're talking about how they're going to change this one too. And for those who don't know, the skilled foreign professional visa is different than a regular visa in that you have to have a lot of it's a points based system basically, and you get those points. Some of the points don't really make sense, like for example, you get like 15 points I think for being under the age of 30, but then on the salary system, if you have like a higher salary when you're older, you also get points. So it balances out in really weird ways, but you get points for having the N2, the N1, for having a doctorate, years of professional experience in that particular field, the salary that you get, the age that you are, all those different things. And if you get 70 points, you qualify for this skilled professional visa. And the benefits for this visa are much greater than that of, for example, just a regular work visa. Mainly is that you get a 5-year working visa for the most part, and the path to permanent residence is much easier. Now, we don't know if that path to permanent residence is going to change yet, which is a different path to permanent residence. And I try to make this clear in every video. The paths to permanent residence are completely different depending on the visa that you're on. The other benefits for this skilled professionals visa is that depending on your family situation, you can bring family. And for example, you can bring your partner, you can bring your kids. And if your kid is of a specific age, you can also bring your parents to kind of be the childcare that they need. Which kind of makes me think I'm going to go into some, proposed changes right now, but I'm getting the feeling that maybe a lot of these changes are to prevent dependence from coming to Japan as well. Because, for example, if a highly skilled person brings 4 family members, that's going to be pretty hard to care for. So I wonder if part of it is to prevent that. But yeah, so it's an easier path to permanent residence, and yeah, you get 5 years, and you usually are doing much better jobs in much, like proper companies. But you can bring your family, and I think you can actually bring like a housekeeper. It says domestic worker in the chart, which I assume to be like a maid or a housekeeper or a child carer for your kid. So there's those kind of things that are going for it. Now, these changes, first of all, the apparently the changes are being done to reflect rising wages and speeding up processing times. Now, the rising wages is quite odd because the past 3 years, it's been an average of, I think, 5% around Japan. But that's not a huge amount of money. For example, if the salary was 3 million yen, 5% of 3 million is what, 60,000? So I hope that's right. I don't think that's right. 5% of 30,000 is 15,000. 15 or 150. Oh my god, I don't want to do maths live on video, but it's not it's not a great amount of money. So even after 3 years time, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's not zero at the same time. If you're on let's use 100,000. 5% of 100,000 is 5,000. So after 3 years, you're on about 117,000 because the 5% gets bigger and bigger. So the wages haven't increased that much really. So I don't. But here's the thing: even though it's called the skilled foreign professionals visa, the minimum requirement is actually only 3 million yen. So that's pretty damn low. But the points only start from 4 million. And then to get the big 40 points, I think you need a salary of more than 10 million, maybe. And 40 points is more than half the points that you need. So the government is looking at raising the income requirements. And to be honest, 3 million is quite low. So it maybe makes sense. And then it tries to, it says it wants to emphasis individuals' talents. So maybe they're trying to pull actually much higher skilled professionals rather than 3 million yen. How skilled? Well, I'm sure people have got skills, but you know what I mean. But it does highlight here that the changes will also clarify criteria related to national interest and make permanent residency approvals more stringent. Okay, so they're going to change that path as well, but we don't know what that means yet. Foreign nationals with highly skilled professional status referred preferential treatment, longer periods of stay in Japan, and employment eligibility for their spouses. Okay, that's a very important one as well, because dependents often can't work in Japan. If somebody was to come to Japan as my dependent, they do not have the right to work. But if you're a dependent of a highly skilled professional, then you are allowed to work. I don't know if it's full time, but that is a big one. But they are, it talks about how they're scored. But they introduced the system about 15 years ago. And it says they need to change it to reflect the situation now. It says under the current system, applicants aged 29 or younger with an annual income of 4 million yen receive an additional 10 points, which isn't really much. That's like only about 15% of the necessary points. But then you do get points for like graduating from a Japanese university, the doctor, as I mentioned. If you have N1, that's a lot as well. So those kind of help you out. But it's looking a little bit scary, because it's all changing all at once. Like, last week we had, well, last week, sorry, we had the changes to the permanent residency visa. And about 6 months ago, we had the changes to the, what do you call it, the business management visa, which made that almost inaccessible as well. Now, with the changes to the highly skilled professional visas, you've got to ask yourself, like, what's next? I honestly think changes to the spousal visa are coming too. I think they're going to make it much more strict, that because at the moment, like, literally the only requirement is that you have to be married to a Japanese national. If you're married and you've got the certificate, you're done, you can get it. Whereas a lot of countries have other requirements. For example, when we got married, we had to submit like line messages or stuff like that. Or was that for the visa? I can't quite remember. But maybe you have to be married for a certain amount of time to get a spousal visa soon. This is kind of what's coming, and this is what's going to be up in the air. I didn't even talk about how they're making proposals to increase how strict it is that permanent residency can be taken away as well. And we still have the regular work visas, although I read an article today, which I'm going to talk about later, how the eikaiwa industry is becoming almost unprofitable, non like basically the profits for Eikaiwa Industries have become minuscule as people favor these kind of high brand Eikaiwas. Like you might see them like Rise Up Eikaiwa or BizReach Eikaiwa, like these kind of ones that cost a lot of money and the use of AI. So Eikaiwas could end up closing soon. You never know. It's not looking great for everyone. Now, I've tried to remain positive, and I've even probably been on the harsher side of this, but it is getting a little bit, a little bit scary how much is changing and how fast. So we're going to have to keep monitoring it. But yeah, please let me know what you think about these changes. Is anyone on the foreign skilled professional visa? To be honest with you, I actually haven't met anybody on that visa before, but I'm sure some of you are out there. But yeah, thanks all for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time.